I just finished a book called uh, The Inner Game of Tennis.
Oh yeah, that's yeah.
You
Yeah.
know the book, right?
Well, that's a kind of I haven't read it. I know lots of people who have,
Yeah.
uh, but it's because I was at music college in London, and it's one of
Mhm.
those books that everyone just says, "Oh, you've got to read."
Yeah, and it's funny because it's just like it talks about two different selves. The self one, the analytical self, and you think that okay, the way you play well is that you have to remember to do this and that, but it's the letting go and letting the self that you know you already know that you have this stuff in your body and you just have to trust it
Mm,
and just quiet
mm,
the mind and let it do its thing.
yeah,
And so there it is. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I really need to get round to reading it. I think I've always told myself that I'm generally pretty good at dealing with performance situations,
Mhm.
and that was one of those books that was always suggested to people who I was studying with who really struggled being on stage
Mm.
and just lacked that consistency and that. But I've generally always felt really comfortable on stage.
Sure.
But even so, it's still going to be a benefit to read something like that, and I need to get around to it.
One of my biggest takeaways from the book was instead of like you can't really calm the mind per se, you can focus the mind, and when that conscious mind is focused, then the mind too or self too, as the book proclaims it, it's free to do what it's meant to do, just
Mm,
without any resistance. So
mm,
basically, he talks about like in tennis, following the stitching of the ball as it flies, just so you're focused on it the whole time, and
right.
so looking at the rim of the drum, or I don't know,
Yeah,
some kind
yeah,
of thing,
yeah, yeah,
something like that.
yeah. That's something that I tell um, people who often ask me about the parts that I play if they're trying to learn them, and they say, "Oh, have you got any tips for like memorizing this?" And I try to encourage them to focus in on a small detail, like picturing or just focusing in on one of the drums, or just kind of picking out a shape in the pattern you're playing, or just a melodic element to something
Hmm.
that you're playing. Um, I'm just trying to focus in on that specifically and kind of let the part work itself out around that almost.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's more helpful than thinking about the order of notes, which can often set you back a bit more and
Oh
take more
yeah.
time.
I think thinking about the order of notes, or even thinking about the what's to come, or even
Mm,
if there was some miss of something, what are people thinking? That
mm,
line of thought is very problematic,
mm,
and
yeah.
it leads bad places.
Mm,
I think if we just focus on what's right in front of us,
mm,
presence,
yeah.
then we're fine and we're relaxed and we can just move on.
Mm.